So I will start by telling you a story about what we heard until so far is that what we hear when we hear a protein, it's good for you, it's healthy, and so on. So the first question I would ask is like, what is then the healthy diet for the consumer? And there was this very huge study across European Union. As you can see, it's around 27,000 people was interviewed. So they asked them, what do you think eating healthy diet involves? A simple question. So what we can see here now, that they all said that it's eating more fruits and vegetables. So we are there on the good path. Then if we go further on, we hear every day, well, there is a growing interest in high protein food. So there is another study that I found from Intel saying where they actually asked the people, are you actually incorporating more protein into your diet? Nowadays, compared to a year ago. As you can see here, they all said yes. So this actually protein hype we can feel in some of the countries, not all. Of course, they did it only in 5. Then they would ask them also what could be the main reasons to choose these kind of products. So for example, in Spain, they said that main reason to use high protein foods would be sustained energy, means when exercising, being active, and so on. For example, Polish consumers, they were more focused on the bone health. In France, that was aging, and in UK, healthy lifestyle. So, and most of and as you can feel, you saw also from the other presentations that these are kind of the trends that we can see now on the market. Then, if we go further on to see what's going on with the plant protein. So, the thing is that as you saw from my first slide, that consumer thinks that actually healthy diet is eating more of plants. So we asked the people then, how much do you incorporate more vegetarian food into your diet? And then again, and what kind of products are those that you are incorporating more? Again, as you can see, in these 5 selected countries, we see that there are more and more vegetarian products that they are incorporating into their diet. This is also, we can feel it also at the market, where actually the high protein foods and those who are enriched with plant protein, they are using vegetarians and vegan claims on their products. So, and you can see this here. So, and this is actually, I found the data from the last 2 years, in 2017. Then you were talking here about also what kind of proteins are mainly on the market. And as I had only the data until 2015, but as you can see, the soy is still the protein that is kind of more out there in the market, while the pea protein, wheat, and vegetable protein are now gaining a little bit more power. The other proteins like oat, they're still in traces, so we don't see it in this graph. So then we did another study across 4 European countries, and we wanted to see what could be also the motives for consumers to consume plant protein. So you saw for the protein in general, now we are going in particular for the plant protein. What they told us is that they would like to eat these products as part of the meal or snacks because it's convenient, it's also very healthy, but they also mentioned some other like weight management, satiety. Again, we hear when being active, and for us it was also really important that they see these products as potential animal protein replacer. So what we are kind of witnessing now, I call it here protein evolution or revolution, because at the beginning, until now, we have these conventional products where all the people thought, okay, most of the protein actually should come from meat, fish, dairy, because this kind of protein, it has the complete amino acid composition. Then we have these established already protein foods like soy, nuts, and seeds. But when we were doing the studies and going through the literature, for example, soy is starting to be a kind of a product that, protein actually, that is considered risky because of the scarce, and especially in the study that we did in the Nordic countries, actually soy protein was not that well accepted when compared, for example, to oat. And then, of course, we have these emergent proteins from insects, cereals, legumes, and also marine sources. But again, I come to this question, do the consumer know what is naturally enriched with protein and scientifically increased protein? And when in another study that Mintel did across 5 European countries, they asked them if they think that milk and red meat are still very important source of protein. And they all, of course, said yes. Then we did another study where we asked, would you be willing to shift your consumption and substitute meat and dairy protein by products that are enriched, and we would explain what does it mean to be enriched with protein. As you can see here, where we had the general population, you see that they were not that willing to substitute meat and dairy with these kind of products. But when looking only at the females, they were more prone to substitute meat and dairy protein with plant protein, with the products enriched with plant protein. Then, to answer the questions I posed, so actually, when we did a study, and even when explaining to the consumers, can you actually describe what is a product that is natural in protein and enriched with protein, they couldn't distinguish these two categories. They had a preference for conventional products, and as Klaus said before, everything that was seen as added, increased, enriched, they considered that as harmful for their health. So, but when we would explain what does it entail to have this kind of products, then they answered that yes, but then plant protein would be healthier than the animal protein. And actually, on the market, this love for the conventional products and also the fact that consumers still cannot distinguish between these categories is actually very much used. And we have this product from Finland where they actually increased the protein in milk. And they use claims as this protein helps maintain and build the muscle mass. And it's actually very well sold in Finland. Then we went further on and we said, okay, so you have a preference for this type of conventional products. So what kind of carrier would you consider if we would tell you that we want to enrich some product with a plant protein like oat? So we gave them a bunch of products and asked them to grade them from the most interesting to the least interesting one. As you can see on the top were products that are kind of sold on the daily basis, like pasta, bread, biscuits, and so on. And actually, the fact that they like this closeness to the conventional products is actually explored, even here in Denmark. And you have this kind of product, pastella, which is again from the pea protein. And explores also the claims that I mentioned before, like using, I don't know if you can see here, but a Danish athlete, so promoting that this product actually can help you sustain energy, maintain physical activity, and so on. But then when we come back to the experts, because what we did also, we co-created products that would be enriched with oat protein. So we did a co-creation phase with the consumers. And then we chose 10 ideas, and then we asked experts from food technology, nutrition, and so on to rate them based on their superiority, technical complexity, innovativeness. What we found that those products that were more innovative, yes, they were graded higher, but when we asked them at the end, which one of these products would you go on and produce, they would always go with the conventional protein carriers. So they were very much in line with what consumer is saying. But then if I go back to the market, there is this company called Golden Green, again from Finland, which actually they made a revolution in Finland by selling this very innovative product. It's called pulled oats. And as Jussi said, actually it's not oats, it's protein from beans that they are using. They use oats, but the base is from beans. And actually they produced this very innovative product that actually made a really, really big boom at the Finnish market. Then what we wanted to look into are the products that we developed on our project. So we developed 4 products. You see from Fazer, they developed the biscuits. We had 2 variations of the biscuits. One was source of protein, the other was high in protein. So one was covering 12% of the energy level, the other one 20%. We had the pasta as well, the same variation produced with the same flour, so 12 and 20% of the protein. We had a yogurt, again, same source and high in protein, and bread was produced in VTT. So what we did, we varied the information. We would present them with a description of the product. What does it entail? We would give a claim that this helps build a muscle mass. The only thing that was different between these 2 types were the level of the protein that was in the product. So as you can see here, we tested all of these products across 5 countries. We did here also in Denmark. What we actually noticed is that if we would show them the information before they would taste the product, actually that information would increase the expectation about the products. But after the tasting, as you can see here, only few products could actually keep up with that expectation that was created before the tasting. So we went further on. We look into the sensory profiles of each of these products. And what we found, this is very complicated, so I will give you a better one. So what we found actually that, and what was mentioned here with oat protein, the problem is actually bitterness and sourness in taste. So in many cases, when we were looking at the consumer acceptance of this kind of these products, and all categories, both source and high in protein, each time bitterness and sourness attributes were actually having a negative effect on the consumer acceptance. Of course, we had also problems, for example, with saltiness, and especially in bread. And for example, chalky taste was more in pasta. We tested also another. So where we actually looked into compatibility with the product and the carrier. Those were sausages with rapeseed protein. We didn't do the sensory trials with them. We only tested it online with an image and the information. So again, we did it in the same 5 countries. And what we did, we actually asked the people about their attitudes toward this kind of products and what would be their likelihood to buy the product if they were on the market. What we saw is that in some countries like Romania, both attitudes and likelihood of buying was a bit higher than in other countries, but actually people were mostly indifferent towards this kind of product. And the main reason was that actually the carrier, the product type they used to implement the rapeseed protein was actually not that well accepted among the people. Then we went further on, and for the same product, so sausages with rapeseed protein, we asked them, what kind of ingredient would you like to have in this product? So we asked them about rapeseed, soy protein, potato starch, and so on. And again, we saw that actually that rapeseed was fitting for this product, but also they considered soy, while, for example, other ingredients were not that accepted. So we went a further step on where we tested also the communication around the product. So we were looking what type of information would consumers like to see with plant protein enriched products. So we did a huge study again across 5 countries, and we varied different types of information, more that would evoke emotions in people, like happiness and joy, telling them about the golden oat field and so on. And the other information that we used was more rational, more scientific, where we would explain what exactly means for a product to be enriched with protein. Of course, we used images of the products, which were also varied with the information. So what we found that for some products, as you can see here, for example, for bread and pasta and yogurt, the information explaining to the consumer that what enrichment entails actually worked really well, especially when the images were included of the product, while for some other products, whatever we would use, for example, for biscuit, it was kind of the same. There were no differences if we would use the emotional or the more scientific approach. What we also found in the study, because we asked them a bunch of other questions, that they could actually say what else would they like to know about these products. They admitted that they would like to have more information because they don't really understand what enrichment means. So, of course, in that sense, the communication should be around that point. So what we found out throughout all these studies, and first of all, that consumers, yes, they're open towards this kind of enrichment. But the question is how much they know. What does it mean? They are not still ready to substitute this meat and dairy protein with these kind of products, and especially in the countries like Denmark, where the frequency of meat consumption is quite high. We notice that it has a high correlation with the frequency of meat consumption and also the substitution. What we also found that actually the experience can actually drive the acceptance down, especially if it's bad, like we saw in our case with bitterness and sourness of the products. And that also the other thing that we should always look into is the compatibility of the product that is carrying the protein, especially also the compatibility between the ingredient and the product. Further on, what we should be looking into also is differentiation in terms of protein quality, because that's something that is still not tackled enough, I think, on the market, because some proteins have higher protein quality, and when I say protein quality, I think about amino acid profile, while the others, and they offer certain benefits when compared to the others. Because one of the things that consumers is always telling is, well, more conventional products like meat, dairy protein, they have this more composite amino acid profile, while plants are still lacking behind. So there is something there to be communicated to the consumer. And of course, the follow-up benefits that comes from there. And that could be one of the things that could actually help you, as Klaus said, for your products to stand out in the crowd. And then I just kind of summarized at the end also other things that we should be paying attention to, that a consumer still wants products that are familiar, so in terms that they are closer to the products they are already consuming, using in the everyday diet, that they need to feel good, so all the associations to the overall health, wellness are beneficial. They want the information about it, what does it actually mean and entails for them, and of course it has to be effortless, so the convenience aspect is important. Yes, so thank you.